What's going on, Ernesto?
What's up, Kat? Doing it.
Um, 1 minute ago, you intrigued me already by talking about how your fitness is directly related to your sex life. Don't
Yeah.
don't lead with that and not elaborate.
Okay.
Talk to me.
That's where you want to start? Let's do it.
Yes, that's where
Perfect.
I want to
Okay.
start.
All right. So I've been married for 13 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My wife's pretty awesome. You've met her, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
She's adorable.
Yes. Uh, I don't think that I ever, so I didn't grow up like, dating a bunch of different people. I know this is a unique thing, but like my wife's the only person I've ever been with. We dated very young, not very young, but we were 21. We were married, or 20. We were married at 21, and we've been married since then. So we've just been together, and that's just how it's been. So, um, I think that I didn't realize how much our sex life in marriage was changing when I went through a period, probably, I don't know, 5 or so years into marriage, no, maybe four, when I started going to school and I got very unhealthy and out of shape. I'm a very like active person. I played sports all through high school. I even played like half a year of college baseball. We could talk about that. But then I stopped and started going to school and eating and sitting and eating and going to school and doing all those things. And then, um, you know, it became probably pretty uncomfortable and it would be something that I would joke about and then I'd make fun of people who were fit and stuff like that. But, there's a lie, I think, in culture that tells you that the longer you're together with somebody, like the less often you should be sexually active and like that you will have like a lower libido or whatever, and you've just been with the same person. I don't think that's true. I
Mhm.
think what happens is that people get bored and they stop pursuing one another. But for me, some of that was like a self-esteem issue. It was that I was 270, 280 pounds. My wife, you've met her, is I don't know women's weights very well, but she's not a big woman. She's a small
No,
lady.
she's
You
pretty
know,
petite and she's
yeah,
very fit.
yeah, very fit. Runner, Zumba lady, mom at the park, and just the reality of like realizing there's no. I know she loves me, but there's no way this is comfortable. You know, um,
Wait,
that
there's no way it's comfortable for who?
for her and for me, like my self esteem of just like not usually have clothes on, right? And so there's that part of it. But then just being like a 270, 280 pound guy, on top of a 110 pound girl, like that's not. And there were things where like, yeah, just getting winded really easily. I think that like my libido dropped like crazy. Um, and I didn't recognize any of that in the moment. It was after I started to work out and change my body composition and be more active and eat differently that I realized, oh man, that was horrible. We went through that like 5 year period or so of it being really, really bad.
Really
Um,
bad was during college or right after college?
so I did college and grad school, which took me 7 years. And so probably about year two, I worked at Olive Garden, and there was free food. So
Oh man, I know all
I,
about the all you can eat breadsticks and
yeah,
salad.
yes. Oh, well, I wasn't doing the salad part. I was all you could eat breadsticks and then the never ending pasta bowls and then
Oh
the
snap.
soups. Yeah, I mean, I could have had the salad, sure. I wasn't doing that. Uh, yeah, so there's that. That was during college. And you're also when you're studying and working and married, you're not sleeping very well. You're just inherently probably not eating very well. And I had zero time for being active on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed things like surfing, but like it actually got to a point where like I just physically couldn't pop up on my surfboard. Like it was embarrassing to like think about, but so I would just stop surfing, like because I can't do. I would have had to own the fact that I weighed what I weighed and I was as weak as I was, and sell the boards I had and get something that was like, I don't know, 10 foot, 10 foot and 3 inches thick or something for a really, really big guy. And I just didn't want to do that. And so I
Yeah.
just stopped surfing, and then you just stop being active. And yeah, a lot of it's in retrospect though. I didn't realize any of it in the moment.
When did you realize it? Did you realize it once you started getting healthy and fit?
Yeah, so uh I joined the gym that I met you at, the CrossFit gym in 2021. So just like barely after pandemic.
Okay.
Well, I guess it was still pandemic, but this is like y'all were working out inside again. So whatever that tells
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Um Before that, like through the whole pandemic, our like COVID pod, people had their friend groups or
I know
whatever.
all about
Um,
it.
our COVID pod, somebody in it initiated like, hey, we need to be working out. Like this is one of the best ways to fight this disease is to be healthy, to be in shape. And so they would do that. I never did it. And that was a little bit of like a shame thing. Like I just didn't want to do it. I went a couple times and I was like, and these are all like not necessarily super fit people. I mean, I guess you could say we were all coming from the same place, but I felt really uncomfortable with it. But in 2021, I made a really dumb decision, well, a good decision, but I agreed to climb Mount Whitney at the end of in July, which is the tallest peak in the lower 48.
I've climbed
Um,
Mount Whitney. I know
yeah,
all about it.
yeah. So we were gonna do it in a single day, which is a pretty grueling task.
Mhm.
And the guy who was leading the thing kind of gave us a list of like, hey, these are some like sample hikes and things, some distances you should try, just so you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. And I went to like Crunch Fitness or something and got on a Stairmaster for about 5 minutes and couldn't make it. And I'd already like peer pressured myself into I'm gonna do this mountain with these people. so
I'm
so
picturing all of this.
yes. So I'm like, this is not a joke. I am like on the edge of tears in Crunch Fitness in the locker room, probably with like sweaty naked old men walking around me. And I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see a post from the former gym owner Sony,
Mm,
that said like, in retrospect, it was a bit of a lie. It was like, lose 30 pounds in 21 days, but like these kind of things.
mm.
But I clicked on it and I literally drove from there over to the gym. And she had me stand on like the first thing she did is what is that where you hold the
InBody.
yeah. She's like, well, why don't you stand on here and let's take a scan? And it was like 40 plus percent body fat. I think I was 275, 280. And it was the first time I'd like seen all those numbers.
Yeah.
Um,
You were basically on a scale that not only measures your weight, but is trying to be specific to how much body fat you have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was a wake up call for me that something was wrong. But I think probably more than that. I just really wanted, I'm a pretty social person. I enjoy doing things with my friends. I was very excited to drive to Mount Whitney and camp and then wake up early in the morning and climb with all these people and do this thing together. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do it unless I started working at that. So it was March of 2021 and we ended
Okay.
up climbing it in July, of that year.
So you did it.
So we did it. Yeah. Yes, I did do it.
You
Yeah.
joined them. You actually it's 14,000 some odd feet, Mount Whitney.
Yeah. Yeah. It was,
And it rains, it can hail, there's
yep.
bears, there's everything there.
Well, I didn't see a bear. Maybe some bear-looking
Bears on
thing,
the
but
campground.
yeah. Well, I believe that. Yeah. We like I said, we did it. We ended up doing it in a day. And so we didn't really get to camp as much as I thought we were going to.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was very intense. It was like just like you said, it was like 70 degrees at the base where you start, and it was snowing when we were on the summit.
Yes,
And then you're
it's a
cooked.
drastic change.
Yep. Yeah. I think I what is that thing that people used to wear?
A My Zone chest strap.
Yeah, I should send it to you. I still have the picture because I wore it the whole thing, and it was
Okay.
some like crazy amount of calories burned, and yeah,
It
it was
basically
fun.
measures, yeah, calories burned and what your heart rate is and which zone it's in.
Yes. Yeah.
So for folks who don't know you, how old are you now?
Yeah. I'm 35.
So
Um,
you're 35
35.
now, and basically, it was in college. It was a couple of years in when you started becoming more sedentary. Stress was becoming more and more prevalent, and that went on for about 5 solid years.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably call it 7 if you're being honest. Yeah. It
Okay, so
was, it
let's
was,
call it
yeah.
7 because we want to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was 35 is where you're at now. And, about 4 years ago is when you started getting into CrossFit. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd known about CrossFit, but I made fun of it a lot. And so I was a little embarrassed to go to a CrossFit gym, but that was the ad I saw, so that's why I ended up there.
You saw the
Yeah.
ad, you bit,
Yep.
and you've been doing CrossFit ever since.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now it's like 5, 6 days a week, and usually I have little side quests that I go on that are apart from it, but um,
Side quests?
yeah, like different fitness goals that I'll make for myself. Lifting goals, Olympic lifting goals. One time I tried to be able to do the splits, that didn't work. Um,
Oh, that's a goal of mine.
yeah,
I think that one's going to take like a long time and a lot of dedication.
yeah, I convinced myself I could do it in 2 months.
No.
No. So, so
Did you get
what?
close?
Uh, so when I play baseball, I could get pretty close on whatever's the one that's straight. I don't know what that's called.
Well, there's straddle and then there's like a side split.
Okay. The one where not where your legs are like this, but where you're like this. So I played first base, and first basemans have to be pretty flexible in that direction, and I could get pretty
Side
close then.
splits.
So it was I actually started pretty close, and then I got closer and closer and closer, and then I don't know if I actually tore or pulled something, but I did something and it scared me. And so I was like, no, side quest, that one's done. I'm not doing that right now. It feels totally fine right now. I should probably get back into it. But yeah, a lot of them were like when I started doing CrossFit, there's different um movements that require mobility to be able to do them well, even just squatting or snatching or cleaning or anything overhead or whatever. And I realized I didn't have a lot of that. So
Mhm.
some of my side quests would be like, you know, I'd try and find some program that was like 6 weeks long to help with ankle mobility. And I would just do that. Just so, and it was all for like, well, because I want to be able to squat better or I want to be able to do this better. Different stuff like that.
I like that you
Yeah.
call them side quests. I've never heard it like
Yeah.
that. So let's see. Ernesto is about how much do you weigh about now? If you don't
Like,
mind me asking.
yeah, I could tell you. I weigh myself every day. I right now I'm 262 this morning, but this week on average I'm about 260.
And how tall are you?
6'1".
6'1", about 260, 35 years old, been doing CrossFit for about 4 years, and you've got goals. You
Yes.
right? Let's start talking about what your goals are. Are you happy with your current weight? Are you happy with where you're at fitness wise and health wise?
Um, well, I'll say that. So some of my different side quests along or throughout the years, the 4 years or so, there was a point where I went down to 215, and that was just because,
215.
yeah, because I wanted to skydive. And skydiving, you have to be under 230, but then every like 5 pound increment above that is like an additional charge, or above, sorry, from 215, it's just the straight price. And then every 5 pounds, there's more money. So I'm
I
like,
didn't
no,
know that.
I'm getting to two. Yeah, you would not read that part of the fine print.
But that's interesting.
Well, so I talked to them about it, and he's like, "Well, listen, like every pound over like our max, we're basically like we're putting ourselves a little more at risk for an ankle or a leg injury or something because we're coming down with you, like the guy that's on your back, the guide or whatever.
Yeah.
So they get the money. It's to your tandem person, and they bid on it together. Like, okay, I'll take that guy. There's some guy on here who's like 240. Like, I'm gonna take him. and he's taking on that risk for himself when he straps himself to you.
I never thought about that. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. So you got yourself down to 215 in order to be able to do that? Did you? So you did that.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
how did you do that?
How'd I get to 215?
Yeah.
Oh, that was just like very. I've been counting calories and macros for. It's just become a habit of mine for like the last 2 years or so, maybe 2.5 years. It used to really bother me. Used to really bother my family. It still bothers my friends, but I just do it secretly. And then so I just did like I think I was at like a 700 calorie deficit for it was not a healthy way to do it. I did it for 6 weeks leading up, and then I did like a pretty intense like 1,000 calorie deficit on keto just to get like the last 10 pounds off in the last like 10 days or so.
Why do you say that it was not a healthy way to do it? And can you elaborate just a little bit more on what you were doing differently?
Yeah, so I would say, and maybe I mean you're the you know the right answer to this, but I would feel like at that rate, the amount of calorie restriction I was having, I was probably not eating adequate protein to maintain my muscle mass and like to healthily repair tendons and ligaments and things like that. And so I'm guarantee, I mean, my numbers went down as far as like what I could lift, and my soreness and inflammation went up in that process. I guarantee I was losing muscle mass and I was like starving my body of the nutrients it needed to like stay healthy and stay strong. But I just wanted to go skydiving. So like it was a very temporary thing, but it was not well, it didn't last. Like as soon as I was done, I probably went another 15 pounds up within a week. And then you asked
15
if
pounds up.
yeah, after
Within
that.
1 week, you went from 215 to 230.
Probably. Yeah, I didn't actually weigh myself then, but I would
Did you
guess.
know that you were doing it in an unhealthy way at the time?
Yes.
And you did it anyways?
Yeah, but it was a little, yes, and I don't think that's a good thing or I shouldn't be proud of it. I knew that I was going to go skydiving, and I knew that this was a weight restriction or goal that I had. And I probably should have started that process like 12 weeks out when I first found out that we were going to go. It was for a friend's birthday.
Mhm.
So it was all planned. We knew we were going to do it. And I was just like lazy about it, didn't do it, didn't start. I'll start next week, I'll do it. And then I just realized like, oh, we're really close. And if I want to do this, and I gotta figure out how to cut weight. And so when I played football in high school, there used to be a rule that you had to be under now I don't remember the weight, but I feel like the weight was like 185 or something to not play on the line. And I wasn't a lineman. I played middle linebacker and then I played fullback. And so I would cut weight a lot for weigh-ins before games. So I
How
knew how
did
to
you
do
do
it.
it? Well, how did you do it?
Oh, then I mean that was even that was even worse. I would like fast for 3 days and like we would run with garbage bags and you do water fast like before the weigh-ins. And then you would just try and like carb load or drink chocolate milk, like things like that right after you weighed in.
Right after you
Yeah.
weighed in. So this picture is becoming more and more colorful of who you are and what your lifestyles look like. And we still have a lot more to uncover. But like, how did you grow up? How was health and fitness in your home life?
Yeah, I grew up in Northern California, in a town so small that we didn't have stoplights. We had two stop signs. Is in the woods in the Sierra Nevadas. We had a wood burning stove. We lived on property. We would raise chickens and pigs and things like that. So I was very active as a kid, very, very active.
Outdoors a
Um,
lot?
Outdoors a lot, all summer long, splitting firewood, hauling firewood, stacking firewood, getting ready for the winter. Um, and then my dad worked very active, physically active jobs. And so all that to say is the calories were burned by our lifestyle and there was zero thought to nutrition. It was just whatever my mom would make. We didn't think about really, it was like the rule was you ate whatever she made. That was the rule.
Do you remember some of the meals, like a typical meal your mom would make growing up?
Yeah, a lot of hamburger helper.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, my mom's actually a very great cook. She's Italian, she's Sicilian, and so a lot of pasta dishes. My dad loved anything red meat, and so on special occasions we do that. She worked at a grocery store, so it would really be like whatever was on sale and a good deal that week. That's what she'd bring home.
Yeah,
Um,
so carb heavy for
Carb
sure,
heavy.
but definitely protein as well. Any
Yeah.
veggies or fresh fruits in there at all? Do you remember?
Um, Veggies were usually came from frozen. Um, but yeah, but they'd be mixed into things. It was very rare to have like there'd be peas in the rice or something like that. There would
Hmm.
be I never salad. I mean, my dad every once in a while would like eat a giant salad because I think he wanted it, but we wouldn't eat
That was
salads.
that was more of like an abnormal thing. That was a once every now and then type of thing.
Yeah, and my dad, because of the hours he worked and I guess some of our family dynamics, we didn't always eat together. So he would like sometimes he'd just have completely different meals than what we
Oh,
were having.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of build were your parents? What w-
Mm.
were you similar to your mom and dad, or are they very different?
Yeah, my dad and I are both very barrel chested, you might call it.
Yeah,
But my dad was a college water polo player and surfer, and he grew up in Huntington Beach and then moved up there because he wanted to ski. He was done surfing in his life. He wanted to ski more. So we moved to the Sierra Nevada mountains.
I see.
So very, very athletic. He smoked and drank his entire life. So he never had like a lot of mass on him. But he was a very athletic guy. My mom is about 5'2", 98 pounds. Like she's a small little lady. Um, I'm very much more built like my dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said you were active when you were in high school. You played football, and then you also played baseball in college. What other sports did you do when you were younger?
Yeah, I played baseball, football, basketball, um, soccer. I swam for a second. I didn't like it. It was too cold. Um, those are all the things I think I played. Oh, tennis.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, what was your body type like when you were a kid? And then when did it change? And when did you start realizing you were going to get a lot bigger?
Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of well, this happens with my wife often, is that she will look back at pictures of her younger self and be like, "Oh my God, I was so beautiful." But then at that time, like realizing like that you were self-conscious at that time, you know? So that was me in high school for sure. Junior high, high school, I always thought I was chubbier or bigger than other kid, even though I was on the same teams as all these other kids that were, fit or whatever. I just feel like for some reason perceived myself as
At
being
the
bigger.
time.
Yeah.
But when you look back, if you have looked back,
Yeah.
did you realize that you were fitter or you were more beautiful than you thought at the time?
Um, yes. So yeah, I would say I have the same uh retrospective perception that my wife would have that I look back and I'm like, I don't understand why. Like there's a lot of pictures of me as a senior in high school because that's like when the iPhone came out. So everybody has pictures starting then. I was like, I was fit. I was fine. Like, well, I definitely thought I was so fat, like in high school when I was a senior, even though I definitely wasn't.
Did
Yeah.
you and how tall were you? Were you already 6'1" by then?
Oh no. I was probably like 5'10". Yeah, that was
So
part of
you
it.
hadn't stopped growing.
No, and I didn't really start like my puberty stuff till probably ninth grade, maybe
Mhm.
10th, something like that. And so I think that was part of it. A lot of guys had already shot up and gotten big and testosterone flowing through their blood. And I was still like this little pudgy prepubescent kid as a, freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was definitely part of it. Yeah.
So senior in high school, you're 5'10", and then how much did you weigh?
I don't know. I stopped playing football my sophomore year. And so then I stopped weighing myself regularly, wondering if I was going to be able to play and things like that. I
Right.
also, a thing I didn't share is that I started doing musical theater in my senior year. I started dancing a lot. I used to teach tap. I don't know if I told you that before.
I
Uh,
love that. You've
yeah.
never told me that. I took tap as a kid. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I taught at a studio for a while because I got free studio time if I taught there. Um, and And that's just a sport or a hobby, I don't know what you call it, where like you're not
It's
gonna it's
dance.
yeah, you're not gonna be big. Yeah. Like I was very toned, at least from like the waist down. And then you just can't. You're just burning so many calories if
Hmm.
you're dancing for 3 or 4 hours a day. Um,
And how old were you when you were teaching?
I started right out of high school, so
Right out
probably
of high
from
school.
18 through or 17 through 20-ish or something. I did it.
So would you say that it's accurate that your weight, you really started putting on extra weight that
hmm
maybe you didn't necessarily need once you started getting sedentary in college? Or is it more accurate to say that your weight has fluctuated quite a bit throughout your entire life?
It's fluctuated. Yeah, I think if if you're looking like a graph, like it would always be like this, and it was never intentional, from let's just call it junior high through 23 years old or whatever. It was never intentional. It's just up and down lifestyle things happening. And then once I get like a couple years or a year or so into college, it just through the roof. And I think what combined with that is that all the times it is fluctuating, I'm still very active. I might be in a weight room if I'm on a high school team or something like that. I'm still like, burning calories, building muscle mass, resistance training, all that stuff. And then I stop all of that and develop really bad habits.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess what I'm just wondering is, has there ever been a point in your life when you've liked where you've been fitness wise?
Um, yeah, that's been a struggle for me, I think, to like be confident with where I'm at. I think most recently, um, So my most recent side quest was that I was trying to do Rogue. Rogue Fitness has a challenge where within an hour you do a back squat, a deadlift, and a bench press. Not in that order. Bench press, back squat, deadlift. And your total gets you into a certain tier. Your total pounds gets you into a tier. So I was uh, from about July, August last year through December. I was trying to get to a 1250 total. Um,
So 1,250 pounds total. When you add those three movements, your max, and in those three movements, you got to get at least 1,250.
yeah, within an hour, and you have to do all your lifts within an hour.
Okay,
Um,
there's a time limit.
yeah, so it's not like there are some strength challenge clubs where like you have to do the lifts within a month of each other. I don't know if I'd be able to do that, but uh, even just August of last year through December, I was trying to do that and still be in a calorie deficit because I just self-conscious about like the scale number. Um, and so then I failed in December. I failed my goal.
Because you were trying to achieve two different goals at the same time, which was the 1,250 for the lift and also be in a caloric deficit in order to maybe cut some weight.
Yeah. Yeah. So my numbers in July were around I would 1100 would have been safe. Like I could have done in July, I could have done 1100 pounds.
Okay.
Um, but if you're in this world, you realize that adding 150 pounds to those is a lot. It's not as simple as like, well, just work on it a couple times a week. Like you're already pretty up there, and
Yes.
so like you would be lucky to add 30 pounds to a big compound lift like a back squat or a deadlift, much less trying to add 150 pounds across the three of them. Um,
I get
so
that.
yeah. So anyways, December 31st, I tried it. It was actually it was a very humbling moment because my wife uh, and I'm very thankful she did this, but it like it kicked me in the pants a little bit. But she came to this thing I was doing the challenge with my kids. She had these shirts made. And it was so cute. It was wonderful. It was just my kids, my wife, and then Dustin, who's a guy at the gym, a trainer at the gym, that was helping me like film and put the weights on and stuff. And then I couldn't do it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. And so,
What did you end up accomplishing that day? What did you get to?
so I mean, I think I got to 11. That's not the right question. What happened was I failed and I was so miserable and upset about it that I went home. I went to sleep. And I came back the next day and I just did 1,000 pounds because that's one tier. And but I failed for like, it's supposed to take an hour, right? I failed for 4 hours straight. And I kept trying to start over and convince myself that I was just in my head or something was wrong. And it took like basically in the third hour, I was like, nope. What happened is that I didn't prepare as well as I thought I had. I thought that this was in the bag. I was way too ambitious on the types of jumps I can make from my previous numbers to these numbers. And I have to just live with that reality and go home because my family's been hanging out at the gym and my wife's been trying to get my 2-year-old to not hurt himself for 3 hours. So I just need to be done. And so that was really disappointing. But I came
And
back the
humbling.
next, yeah, and humbling. And I came back the next day and I did the 1,000 because that was the initial, that's like the level one, or that's the level 2 tier for men. There's 750 and then 1,000. I did the 1,000, recorded it, sent it in begrudgingly, and decided that I was going to try for 1,250. But I was going to eat at maintenance. I was going to get the right amount of protein. I was going to weigh myself daily to have a weekly average, but not for weight loss, but to ensure that I was eating enough and that I wasn't restricting my body from doing the repair it needs to do in order to like reach those goals. And so
Wow.
that's only
What
been
an
this month.
experience.
Yeah.
That's only been this month. Wow.
Yep. So 27
Okay.
days I've done it.
So one
Yep.
thing that I've learned about you in this last, half hour or so is that you have a lot of goals, and when you're determined, you're going to find a way to get there one way or another, even if it's like not the most optimal, healthy, long-term way to get there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be
Yep.
honest about that. And I think that having these experiences are key because they teach us about how we can do better moving forward.
Mhm.
I think you having this conversation with me is an opportunity for us to set you up for success moving forward. And I remember before this conversation, we were talking a little bit about like you haven't really had goals.
Mhm.
Um, it sounds like if you're doing a calorie deficit, you definitely want to lose weight. And
Yeah.
in particular, you probably want to lose body fat, right?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
at the same time, you're trying to lift a lot of weight in three different lifts. That's kind of an ambitious number. And it's a big jump compared to what you know you can do.
Mhm.
So I have no problem with people being ambitious, but the way that I find success, at least for me and the people that I train, is we set up very realistic goals.
Yeah.
Very realistic goals. And that means, like, yeah, number one, can we focus on one goal at a time?
Mhm.
And what would you say is the most important goal to you right now in regards to your health and fitness?
Yeah. Hmm. If you're gonna use a superlative, the most important. So I'll say this as a tangent, and that is that I feel like what I've done in the past with these goals, some of these different goals, is I've hoped that the number on the scale changed as like a side effect of what I was doing. Rather than like that being the intention and the goal and like I'm gonna get to a healthy weight and maintain it or whatever. Because I don't think I should be 260 forever. I think I should probably be somewhere around 220 or 230.
Does that
Somewhere.
feel instinctively more natural for you?
What?
Being around 220, 230 pounds?
What do you mean by that? Does it feel instinctive?
What I mean is being the weight that you are currently, which is
Hmm.
around 260, does that feel like unnatural? Does that feel too heavy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I feel a little bit too heavy right now.
Okay, so that's what I mean because I'm trying to find out where 220, 230 came from.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my doctor would tell me I need to weigh 185, but I know
Well,
that's
that's
not, yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
We need to talk about that for a second. So, how often are you seeing your doctor? And are you talking about your primary care physician?
yeah, yeah, primary care and at least once a year. Because we have fostered for a while, foster care, you have to do like regular, not just physicals, but blood panels to make sure you're good. And so I've
You're
kind of
healthy.
like, yeah, I've asked for certain things to be checked and to ask her to like, uh, I don't know, to just like monitor my heart, my cholesterol, and things like that, as a part
All,
of it.
all very
Yeah,
normal stuff. So,
yeah,
you're a
yeah,
foster parent and you're required to have your blood work checked regularly to make
yeah,
sure that everything's, okay.
yeah. You don't want to put a foster kid in the home with, parents that might have health issues.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So, talk to me about your most recent blood work, if you don't mind. When did that happen, and what
Oh,
numbers kind of were, alarming, if any?
it's been a year because I do it every February.
Okay.
So I last year, um, you would know better than me, but what's the good cholesterol and the bad one? LDL and
The good
HDL.
cholesterol is your HDL,
Okay.
and
So
LDL is the bad cholesterol.
so 3 years ago, I was like borderline hypertension in my LDL, right? That's the bad one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's gotten down to like a normal level as of last year.
Okay.
And then the HDL had been like slowly climbing up as well in a positive direction. Last year was the first year that I didn't get a message in my Kaiser box that's like, here's your health plan update. What? Yeah.
Wait, so you satisfied their requirements? You were
For
doing all right?
for my blood work, yes, she still keeps, she still thinks I should be like 185 pounds or something. And I've just told her like when I've done the in no not the InBody, is it called a DEXA scan? The one where you lay down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
DEXA.
Yeah. I would literally have to lose bone mass and muscle mass to weigh 185 pounds.
I don't know where they came up with 185.
It's age, gender, and height. That's like that would be
Yeah, but
not
that
obese.
that doesn't take into consideration, the amount of muscle you have.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, what she told me, she's a very nice lady. But she just said, well, um, these numbers are established by Healthy Heart, somebody, whatever. And I guess the only like way that I could be devil's advocate for her and try and steel man her position is the more mass that your body carries around, the more that your organs have to support that mass.
Yeah,
And
they have to work
so,
harder.
right. So maybe a healthy weight would be for me to both lose body fat for sure, but then also
Hmm.
to lose some mass, so that my organs don't have to work as hard to support a 220-pound frame or whatever. Um, but I don't think I would feel great at 185 pounds. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I feel like if I lost 40 pounds and somehow most of that was body fat, I mean, I feel like that'd probably be the best shape I'd ever been my entire life.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing now in order to drop the number on the scale, in particular to start losing body fat? What are you doing right now?
Yeah. So, right now I am not trying to drop the number. Um, what I have been doing is, uh, I've been trying to eat my maintenance calories, with 250 grams of protein, per day. And my main goals, well, Also because for the last 4 years, like I described with the skydiving thing, I've just been doing like these crazy restrictive diets and this and that and this and that. I feel like I haven't done a long period of time where my metabolic rate can just like chill and just like you settle down for a second. So I'm doing that through April. April 21st is my birthday. Um, and so on April 21st, I'm going to try my 1250 again. So I've been training still towards that 1250 goal.
So
And
that's your main focus right now. That's your main
that's,
goal. That's
that's
the
what I'm
top
doing.
priority.
That's what I'm eating towards. That's what I'm weighing myself to make sure that, I mean, if I go down 5 pounds, I won't care. But if I start losing, I'm having very long sessions in the gym, like probably 90 minutes a day or something like that. And so if I start losing weight, in the past, I would have been like, oh, this is kind of cool. To now, it's a like, wait a minute, I need to look at my nutrition. I need to look at my nutrition diary and like, what am I doing wrong? Like, obviously, I'm under eating at this point, and then I'm starving my muscles of whether it be protein or glycogen to repair through carbs or whatever it is. There's something that I'm missing if I'm simultaneously dropping weight. Now, after April, I think I told you my next goal, it will be more weight loss oriented.
Hmm.
Um, but I found it very counterproductive from August through December to try and lose weight and increase these lifts.
Yeah,
And so
that's hard to do.
so yeah, I've just I didn't want to. I thought I was done. Yeah, it was a very, very humbling experience, like I said, in December. It was just I thought that was it. I thought I was gonna hit it. And then I had actually thought that I would um plan my long-term goal. I'm gonna tell you this right now. My
Tell
long-term
me.
goal is someday I would love to do some sort of modeling-ish photo shoot type thing that I would pay for, you know. Um, but because I've never been like proud of the body I have in swim trunk type clothing or attire. And that's what I was going to do on April 21st. But last year, that's what I told you I was going to do on my 36th birthday.
Yeah.
But then when I failed, I felt like I can't just leave that. It's going to nag at me. And these are counterproductive goals. So I decided on top of my wife, like, this is what I'm going to do. Um, and I think some people listening will be like, dude, what is this guy? Like, this is all he does. Like, this is just a very small portion. Like, I still have a full-time job and a family, all these other things.
Fuck what
So
anybody else
yeah.
thinks, number one. Go ahead and let that go.
Yeah. Okay.
Number
Okay.
two, I love the fact that you have goals and there are a lot of variety. And I love that you're so honest and open and humble about, how you've achieved them, whether it was, a healthy way or not.
Yeah.
It's for me, when you can be honest about that, that's a really
Mm,
good place to start. Then if you recruit people who have some expertise in these fields, then you can get better. If you
mm,
and I can tell you have the drive and the motivation to get better. So that's not the issue. Um, I think you hit the nail on the head. Having two simultaneous goals where, losing weight, but also trying to be able to lift a lot of weight, they might not match up exactly.
yeah.
If it were me, if I was trying to do something like that, I would recruit somebody. I would get a coach who's done that,
Mm,
who is the epitome of that. And like a vision of, I think his name is Lane Norton
yeah.
comes to
I follow
mind.
him. Yep.
Yeah. So he's pretty lean. He's a big guy. He can lift a lot. I mean, from what I know of him, dude's nutrition is on point.
Yes. Yeah.
He's probably not, downing a bunch of processed foods and
Mm,
junk and alcohol and all of that. It's probably pretty clean in
yep.
that we're talking about whole foods, animal proteins, and he's probably, most likely eating really good complex carbohydrates.
Yep.
Would you say that you've got that area dialed in?
For the last 27 days. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, for the last 27 days, yes. Good. Very good. So
Yeah.
what have you been eating? What does a typical meal look like for you? Does it change day to day because you need variety, or do you find something that works and you stick with it?
Um, it changes day to day. partly because I need variety, but also uh, I really enjoy the habit of walking to the store. So I walk to the store every day, and I cook probably 90% of our meals for our family. So I decide around 4:30 every day when I walk to the store what we're going to do for dinner that night. And it just kind of depends on what they have. Um, that's for dinner. Breakfast is usually uh, well, the last month it's like oats, overnight oats. I make overnight oats with protein. That's been a huge change in this last month because I didn't eat breakfast. I haven't ate breakfast in probably, I mean, like actually continually ate breakfast every day, probably since I was in high school. I just stopped eating breakfast.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you were not even trying to do intermittent fasting, but you were doing intermittent fasting.
Well, I wasn't trying, and then once I found out I was, that's what I called it. But here's the big secret about intermittent fasting, or I guess it's not a secret, but the dark side of it. You can still completely overconsume your maintenance in 2 meals. It's not
Yeah, it
hard.
depends on how much you eat and what you're
Yeah,
eating, right?
yeah,
And your activity level and all of
yeah.
that. So you're saying it with a smile, like, "Hey, you did that."
Yes, I do that. Yeah, yeah. You would be like, oh, well, I mean, he's like skipping meals. Like this dude's fasting for like 12 hours a day. Like that's crazy. Like obviously he's got to be cut and lean. It's like, yeah, but then my feeding window, that's what people call it. Like
Right,
it could be like a 4 hour feeding window. I can get 3,500 calories in 4 hours. Watch me,
right,
like
right,
I can
right.
do it.
Me too.
Um, so yeah, I've been eating breakfast a lot more, usually oatmeal, eggs before they were $9 a dozen. I used to eat eggs a lot more.
Don't get me started.
But that's changed because I've been doing these longer where I do the CrossFit and I usually scale the CrossFit stuff a little bit. And then I'm doing my powerlifting training after. Um, that was just talking to people, a mutual friend of ours, Thomas. And he's like, well, you have to eat. You have to eat before you come here. You have to eat carbs. You're not going to make it 90 minutes through like a heavy lifting session if you have zero fuel in you.
I
Um,
would listen to
so,
Thomas.
so I did. Yeah. Yeah. He's one of those, he's somebody that I literally just had a long conversation with him today after working out about this exact thing. Because yeah, I have these made up rules in my head about like somehow if I'm doing my workout fasted, it's better. And he's just like, well, that's stupid. Just eat some food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're just kind of making it up,
Yep. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And if it hasn't been working for you, then and you sound like a kind of guy who's open-minded and flexible, then you try something else and you see if that works, but you've got to try it long enough in order to like give your body time, your
Yep.
mind and your body time to adapt to it and see if it likes this change. Because the
Yep.
body wants to stay the same. If you're about
Mm,
260, 262 right now, the body's MO is I want to stay the same no matter what. It's easier
yeah.
on the body to do this. It doesn't want to constantly change. So when people start a new diet fad or they start new exercise and something like this, and they're like, Kat, why isn't the weight coming off? It's like, well, you need to give it time. You need to be
Mm,
consistent, number one. And number two, you need to give this time. And when I say time, I'm talking about several weeks, maybe like
yeah.
a month, 2 months. You've got to stick with it. That's why it's kind of like false advertising when they're saying like transform your body in 30 days. Like
Yeah.
that to me, like don't talk to me about that. Really, just don't. But Thomas is a good example of somebody who can lift really heavy and he's really, really lean and
Yeah.
he's disciplined with his diet. So listen, you said you have the overnight oats now.
Yep.
You're
Sorry.
putting protein powder in there.
Yep.
Is that correct? So you've got a nice nutritious meal in the morning. You're doing this before you go work out. You
Mhm.
do a little bit of CrossFit, and then you also complement that with more dedicated powerlifting time.
Yep.
And then right afterwards, what are you eating for lunch?
Yeah, usually right after there'll be some sort of animal protein with rice and then yeah, cilantro. Usually it just ends up being like green onion, cilantro, red onions chopped up together with tomatoes. I just make like a pico de gallo, usually
Nice.
basically. Um, and then yes, usually chicken. Yes, today it was salmon. I had a like 10-ounce salmon fillet with rice and then the pico mix.
Okay. And any other vegetables at all?
For lunch, no. Yeah, actually, I mean, not now. Uh, I don't know why I'm like this, but when it's warmer, like all of that will turn into being put on top of like a giant bowl of spinach. But I just don't like it
Mm.
right now. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to plant a seed that we need
Yes,
to put more veggies in your diet.
I believe
But
you.
before we talk a little bit more about that, I have this image of you walking to the grocery store and buying what's, available right
Hmm.
now, but you didn't elaborate. You didn't say, for an example, what you would buy.
Oh, yeah. So, it's always a vegetable and an animal protein. And then, sometimes that's it. My kids don't love that, but sometimes that's what we're having for dinner. And then usually there'll be rice or some sort of like there's just a chickpea pasta. I don't know if you've ever had
Mhm.
that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually like it. It's got a lot of fiber and some protein in it.
Good.
So sometimes I'll make that with tomato sauce. But usually the variables, the things that are different at the store every day are whatever veggies are there, and then whatever like animal proteins are in that don't look like they're going nasty. Yeah.
Do you feel like, and I'm speaking from experience, by the way, because I used to track my calories daily
Mm-hmm.
for years, and I was highly specific, and I was able to meet certain goals by doing it that way.
Uh-huh.
But I don't rely on that anymore because
Mm.
it's very time consuming, and it can also do something to you mentally if you
Mm.
do that for too long. That's my own personal experience. For you, have you ever been able to would you be able to do this? Would you be able to focus on the 1250 lift and eat the way that you've been eating, but not record everything and not pay attention to those kinds of numbers and just kind of, you know, pay more attention to like your energy levels?
Would I be able to do that? Probably. I'll tell you why I've chosen not to. Because in from that August to December, and then in talking, honestly, watching a ton of like Lane Norton's videos and Huberman podcasts,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then talking to Thomas and then Dustin and different people at the gym, I think that my natural eating tendencies undereat the amount of protein that I need. So,
That's
um,
everybody, though. That's everybody. Every
right.
human does not eat enough protein.
Oh, yeah, I believe you. So then when I think if I were just like living my life and working out and not um doing pretty intense strength training 5 days a week, it'd probably be fine. But I think one of the issues that I ran into from that July through December window was that I was doing that, but I wouldn't have the energy to like finish my sessions with 100%. And then really, um, I wasn't recovering in the way that I should have because my body didn't have the fuel to do it.
Now, you were working out from July to December. Were you working out 5 to 6 days a week?
So yes, but I would say the biggest shift that I've made is at that point in time, I would do whatever was written RX for the CrossFit stuff, and then I would just do a little bit of like accessory weightlifting on the side afterwards.
Okay.
Now it's shifted. CrossFit's kind of like this chaos ball of like you're doing 700 movements at a time or
It's
whatever.
intense.
Yeah, yeah. So now I use an AI coach that writes all my programming for me, and I tell the AI coach, "This is what I'm doing. This is what's prescribed for CrossFit today. How do you think I need to modify or scale that in order to not hinder my powerlifting workout afterwards?"
And
And
what do
that's what
you
I do.
think of the information it's been giving you so far?
Um, it's been very helpful. I trained it. So it was an existing GPT that somebody else had written. And then I took a ton of white papers and things that Lane Norton had written. And then that I found on Huberman Lab. And I told it to read all those. And I wanted it to use that as its like knowledge base for coaching me. So it's been very helpful because, and I also had to teach it to be mean to me. Not mean, but to be a little bit more strict. It's very like approving.
You
Um,
can do that?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Because if you just say like, man, I'm kind of feeling a little bit fatigued today. I'm tired. It'll be like, you know what? Like, just take a day off. It's great to have a rest day every once in a while. But I had to teach it to say like, well, what did you eat yesterday? And how much sleep did you get? You shouldn't be, maybe, okay, let's just try, it'll do stuff like that. Like check in with me when you're at this point in the workout and tell me how you're feeling.
That's
Um,
fascinating.
but I had to teach it to do that. Otherwise it would have been like, you know what? You're right. Go get coffee. Like,
It's like your friend.
it's very, very, positive reinforcement, in its natural state, but you can teach it to do what you want it to do. Um,
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay.
so that's the biggest
So,
change. Yeah. Is that I,
all right.
sorry. Oh, sorry. That it, like today, it was, I probably did today that what it had me do for CrossFit, I never would have chose to do that because it just felt like, I'm like, why am I even here? Like this is so minimal. But I was exhausted by the end of my strength training thing. So it was right. Like
It was right.
I think if I had gone all out, I would have, there's no way I could have done the volume and the weight that it was prescribing in my strength training.
Do you feel like based on how you're training and how often you're training that you are genuinely giving yourself enough time to recover?
Um, that's a good question. I bet you that I'm overtraining a little bit. I do take an entire 48 hours off every week. But I bet if I was like trying to optimize everything, those 48 hours wouldn't be consecutive. They'd be like 24 here, 24 there or something. But I also do a lot of active recovery days built into the programming. I'll do deload weeks every 4 weeks where you're doing a lot of lightweight, but just focusing on mechanics. And those are much less taxing. And that's another thing that I didn't do before. It was just like lift as heavy as you can, as much as you can. And now like it forced the coach thing forcing me to take a deload week, even though I don't feel like I need it. But
Right.
according to training volume, you should need it. So we're going to do it anyways.
Okay.
That's something I would never have initiated on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just from what you're sharing with me, I just wonder if there's a possibility of some overtraining going on and the body's not having enough time to recover,
Hmm.
repair, rejuvenate, build that muscle. Are we just constantly breaking it down?
Yeah.
And just feeling overall fatigued because the body simply needs more rest and more focus on, you know, I think you might need more vegetables as well. My gut's
Yeah.
telling me we need to add more color to your plate, more greens, zucchini,
Mm.
salad if you like it, things of that nature, just so we can get some roughage in there and
You
we can
sound like
also
my wife.
satiate.
This is literally She's like, I love your food. I love your cooking, but like, you need more. There needs to be more than one vegetable on the plate.
You know what? I don't think she's wrong. I
Yeah,
know her to be a delightful woman, so I take all of this as a
it
compliment.
is. It is. Yeah.
And I don't want to overwhelm you with all these things. Number one, I'm not a power lifter. Do I know how to do all of those lifts? Absolutely. I know how to
Yeah.
do that. But I'm not also trying to get the heaviest lifts.
Hmm.
That doesn't work for me. I would train in an entirely different way.
Sure.
But there are certain things that I'm noticing here. And
Mm.
I think more veggies need to be present in, you know, at least 2 of your meals. This is gonna sound a little crazy, but I don't eat traditional breakfast food. Sometimes I eat eggs and chicken and then salad.
Huh.
It doesn't have to be overnight oats. I was eating overnight oats for a few months and I realized, wait a minute, I'm holding on to just a tiny bit of extra weight because
Huh.
it's a little bit higher than in sugar and carbs than I actually need, but every
Mm.
body is different, right?
Sure.
For me, a paleo style diet actually works the best. And not training as much as I used to when I was 35 works the
Yeah.
best. When I was 35, I was guilty of overtraining. I thought the
Yeah.
more I trained, the more I was going to CrossFit 5, 6 days a week. And I was also trying to be in a calorie deficit, which I was.
Hmm.
And I got the number on the scale that I wanted, right? But I couldn't lift shit. I was
Mm,
like, why can't I just improve my weights? Like, I want to be able to lift some legit weight. And
yeah,
it was because I wasn't giving my body enough to build the muscle that I want. So now
yeah.
I train a lot less and I
How
have
often do you like have an intense 60 minutes of training? How often? How many times per week?
2 to 3.
And what do you do those other days? That's what I don't know what to do.
The other days I am doing, I don't know, some push-ups here and there, walking. The other day I did like a 5, 6 mile walk. Maybe another day I'll just go on a leisurely jog. Um, I'm I don't know. I don't train the way that I used to.
Mm,
When I was doing CrossFit the way that you were doing it at 35,
mm,
I went all the time and I went all out and my goal was to get the prescribed numbers and I
mhm.
was sore all the fucking time. I was so sore. I had delayed onset muscle soreness all the time and I was in so much pain and uncomfortable. I was injury free, mind you. I was
Yeah,
good, but I was overtraining and it's just like sometimes when you're in this space and you're around other people, you might get a little competitive if you
yeah.
know even with other people and you say, "Oh, I'm not competitive. I don't care about the clock. I don't care about the reps." But
You do.
sometimes you actually do. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. So that that was and I did that for 7 years that
Mm,
way. And then I decided like, you know what? That's not sustainable for me.
mm.
And what feels better for my joints and my body is to be lighter and faster and work out less and just eat, more of a paleo style, um,
That,
yeah, diet. So that's just me. For you, you have different goals,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I think some of it is that, I don't even know what time it is. Oh, sorry. Uh, some of it is I feel like if I'm being real introspective about it, it's that I'm like making up for lost time. Like I'm so like sometimes I beat myself up for having that 5, 7 year stretch where I got so far behind or out of shape or whatever. And it's like, whoa. And then yeah, I have friends that are in their late 50s, early 60s, and I'm like, geez, like why didn't I do this when I was 20? I was so dumb. I guess I gotta do it all now, which is a really bad mindset. But I know that I know that I do that. You know, I know that I
It's not a bad mindset. It's just something that you noticed.
yeah.
I think you hit some gold right there. I think that that's worth dwelling on.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
I really do. I think that it's fabulous to have goals. I think that it's smart to have smart goals. And part of making a smart goal is making them realistic.
Hmm.
We already know you can lift 1,000, right?
Yeah, I could do that.
Right? So to make the jump to 1250, I'm sure it's doable. You would have to talk with your coaches about that. But for me, from what I'm hearing, is it might make sense to go to the next tier and then the next tier and then the next tier. Like we have to do this incrementally. When we try
Yeah.
to make big jumps, we're asking our bodies and minds to do a lot more you're on top of that, you're a parent, you're a husband, you have a job, you have
Hmm.
demands, you have stress. And so it's like, can we just do these things gradually? Does
Yeah.
that sound appealing to you or is that not really your personality?
No, no, it is. And I'll say that when I did the AI coach thing, I didn't tell it about the April 21st date. I just said, here are my numbers. And they're more than 1,000. My real numbers are probably closer to 1,200. So I'm really only 50 pounds off.
Okay.
But when I failed a million times, that was just bad. But I said, here are my numbers. Here's the goal. I want you to write a realistic strength program, however length of time. You tell me how many days I need to train. This is my fitness level. And it said that I could realistically try to accomplish that goal by April 5th. And so then I said, yeah, this is back in, this is like me at midnight on December 31st, pissed off that I had missed everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk,
Okay.
talking back and forth with this non-sentient being. So
That's an interesting
I know,
visual.
I know. And so then I said, okay, well, that's great. I want to do it on April 21st. So write my program and let's start tomorrow. And we're going to start tomorrow and we're going to do it on April 21st. But the next tier is 1500. And truthfully, at least at this point, I have no desire to try and do that. I feel like that would be a 5-year goal of staying at 260, maybe even getting heavier. Who knows? And I mean, that's reference for our friends. Like that's beyond Thomas's total. Like that's beyond very, very strong, fit people that I know. And so I don't feel like I need to do that. I'd rather do something else after it. But I do. I don't know why. Everybody's like, well, you already could do 1,100 pounds. Like, isn't that enough? I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. I had this goal. I thought I was going in that direction. I missed it. And I feel like I owe it to myself to try and get it. At least try one more time.
You can try as many times as you want. I love it when people don't give up. All right. So every time you fail, I feel like you're getting one step closer to succeeding, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these high-level athletes, they don't just get it on the first try. They've had to
Yes,
put
yeah.
in thousands and thousands and thousands of reps. They've had to try and fail over and over and over again. And so the people who I think are successful in their athletics and other areas of their life are the ones who never give up. Somebody just said to me the other day, a black belt is a white belt who never gave up.
There you go.
I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I see that for you. I see you 100% getting the 1250 and beyond, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like you're supposed to go through these trials and tribulations. You're not supposed to get it easily. I don't know if you would appreciate it as much, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that's true.
I know that's true. Yeah. I think you've really got to work on your mindset because you have, number one, like, believe that it's true. Because why not? Believe that you can get the 1250. Start there. Believe that the 1250 is there. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do. The 1250 is there, and you're not going to be surprised if you get more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That'd be awesome.
You're doing everything. And the more you talk to people about it, and the more when you speak it into existence, if you will, you're creating all these accountability partners everywhere, you know? You've got to talk to people, especially the ones who have been through this before and they know what you're going through, like Coach Thomas, do that. Talk to Dustin, talk to everybody. And they will help you, stay the course because it's still the end of January. So you have February, March, you still got a few months, right? To meet this goal. If you stay the course, you are going to get it. And you're going to be able to check that off your list, and it's going to feel fantastic.
That's awesome. That's a Cat Bradshaw guarantee. That's what we call that right there.
I have to believe that because I feel like having a winning attitude is part of the recipe.
Yeah. 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 I think you're right. I think I was very nonchalant and thinking it would just fall into place last time, and that slapped me upside the head and made me realize you can't. It's you made an ambitious goal, so you have to be disciplined and ambitious with the prep for it. It's not going to just happen.
No, it's not just going to happen because, number one, this is an ambitious goal. This is a respectable goal. I don't know many people who can lift 1250 total from those 3 lifts. I really just don't. And so it's going to require hard work, dedication, some pain, some humbleness. It's going to require all of these things. And again, I don't think you would have appreciated it as much had you just got it on the first try.
I believe you.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think, so I think it's a big goal, but it also sounds realistic with the time frame that the ChatGPT has given to you and the way that you have trained it and, and having this conversation. You said you have another longer term goal or secret goal. I forgot how you phrased it. About doing the photo shoot where you feel confident in how your body looks when you're wearing like bathing suit type outfit.
Yeah.
Man, I will help you with that. That I know how to do.
Yeah.
That I know how to do. And
April
I've had 22nd.
my own. Word stack.
Okay, start.
Yeah.
For 1 second, I thought like that's the day we're having the shoot. Okay, that's not gonna work.
No, that's when we start. Yeah.
And P.S. just to let you know, like, when it comes to photo shoots and how your body looks, a lot of it is wrapped around how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. A lot of it is wrapped around how you feel about yourself. So I'm imagining you in high school as a senior, and you back in that time frame, you thought you were fat. You literally
Hmm.
said, I thought I was fat. And looking back now, you're like, I was pretty fit.
Hmm. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So I think we're always too hard on ourselves, and so one thing that I can help you with for sure is like building up that confidence.
Hmm.
And when you build up that confidence and you start to believe all these things, I can get 1250, I can lose body fat, I can feel good about how my body looks no matter what I'm wearing or if I'm wearing
Hmm.
nothing at all.
There you go.
Then these things start to manifest in your life, they
Hmm.
come to fruition. And then just to circle back to how this whole party started, when you are in alignment with the confidence and everything, then watch things in the bedroom also start to improve,
There you
right?
go.
Because I'm telling you that intimacy with your partner requires vulnerability, it
Hmm.
requires playfulness, and if you don't feel confident and comfortable in your own skin, that will be noticed,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What else do you wanna share? Is there anything else that you wanna share?
Um, I think the only, not the only thing, the thing that I constantly find myself like trying to pull aside newer guys in the gym. It's usually men, just because I don't know, just feels more comfortable. Um, is that the number on the scale is not, and I know that you've said this on your other podcast, but I'll just say it a million other times. Like that is not indicative of how fit, how strong, how healthy you are. And like we were saying before, like I was at my worst. I think the biggest number I saw on the scale was 281. Okay. And then I've only lost 21 pounds since then. But I think if you, but everybody who knows me and who knew me back then would say that I look like a different person. But I only lost 21 pounds, and I'm not under 200 pounds. My doctor still says I'm obese, all these different things. But it's so much more about like your body mass, your muscle mass, your bone density, all those things. And I think, I mean, even though they're like a little bit expensive, just don't go to Starbucks for a month and instead go get a DEXA scan. Just go figure out if you can, what's actually going on in there. And I promise you'll be way more confident about, plus, if you're going to the gym that I go to, like you're not poor. I know that. Come on. You-
It's about what you choose to spend your money on, right? It's not
Yeah.
that people can't afford a DEXA scan or healthy food or things, they're all choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want you to get rid of that word only
Mm,
when you say, I only lost 20 pounds. Because to me, losing 20 pounds is significant, especially
mm,
if a lot of that, or the majority of that, or all of that was body fat.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. I think most dudes who are 270 or pushing 300, they have goals of getting down to 200 or 195, or like those are all the numbers you would hear bigger guys saying, like, oh man, if I could just be 205 or whatever. And yeah, I just feel like, especially if you're 6 foot tall or around there, you're going to be an unhealthy looking person. Uh, some guys are obviously just skinnier. They have skinnier builds, whatever. That's fine. But you probably have built up some pretty intense bone density and muscle mass if you've been carrying around 280 pounds up and down stairs and around your neighborhood and all that stuff for some amount of time. Um, it just, I don't know. If the number on the scale is what does it for you, that's great. I have learned that scale number can just kind of be a data point in your health metric. It cannot be the ultimate one, or it's just gonna piss you off. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I always, before I see a new client, I ask them to get a DEXA scan if they
Mm,
can, because just using the scale alone is only one tiny tool that is not precise enough. Knowing how much fat we have versus muscle and lean mass is so much more helpful and useful and what our bone density is versus just one, plain number that just
Mm.
kind of encompasses it all, because there's water weight in there. There's, there's everything. And understanding that the number on the scale, you can you can tie significance to that as little significance or as much significant
Sure.
as you want, right? And also the guys who are 270 to 300 pounds and they say like, oh, I want to be 205, 195, something like that. For me, I'd want to explore that further and find out, where's that number coming from? Did you used to
Yeah.
weigh that? Or is that just something that you see somebody else who weighs that and you think that that works for you?
Mm.
Whenever whenever my advice always is, do things gradually. Is it okay to have big long-term goals? Yes. Like if you want to ultimately be 220 pounds, that's fine. But let's break it down into bite-sized chunks. So let's go from 260. Our first goal is 250.
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
250, you know? And then when we meet that goal, then we see where we're at in our life
Hmm.
and what factors may have changed. Maybe everything's the same, and then we can set the next goal and do it incrementally. I think it's much nicer on the body and much
Hmm.
nicer on the mind, and the likelihood of success is much higher.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't done that in a way that I stay at that bottom weight ever as an adult. It always goes because I've always chosen such a difficult path to get there. I'm like, I can't do this forever. Yeah.
And that's the key. That's the key right there, is you've got to find a way where this lifestyle change is more permanent. It's more conducive for long term, as
Mm.
opposed to something where, okay, I got to meet this weight so I can go skydiving
Yeah.
and I know I can do it, but the next week, you better believe I'm gonna put that 15 pounds back on.
Yeah.
That's not nice to the body, by the way.
No.
And it just kind of fucks with your mind. It's
Yeah.
it's it's really hard on the body. It's really hard on the mind and the psyche. You lose self-esteem when you do it that way. So I think something that is healthy, a healthy mindset is like, hey, let me talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about, and let's set up realistic goals. Things that are kind and things that I know that I can sustain because I like them, or I know that I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I feel like
Awesome.
I barely started that this year. Yeah.
You know what? And your timing is perfect.
There we go.
I believe that. You're young.
That's what older people say. People older than me tell me that often, and I don't always feel it.
Oh man. I you're young, but I feel like I'm young. I'm
Yeah.
older than you, but I feel young. I think that young is a state of mind,
There you go.
you know? But
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I think we got it. We hit it all.
I'm really excited for April 21st.
All right. Well, I'll let you know.
I want an update. I want to know what happens at this event, and I want you to reach out and let me know how things are going.
Well, I will let you know. Yeah, I'll let you know along the way. But I've committed. I'll put it on the Instagram whether I make it or fail. I'll do it. I mean, I put my failures on too. So I'll
I
do
think
it.
that's really good. And it's a little scary, it's a little vulnerable, but it kind of, puts the pressure on just a bit.
Yep.
And I know that I don't know if German has a training partner, but man, if you need an accountability partner, if you
Mm,
need somebody, I highly recommend you reach out to him
all
because
right.
he's got goals. And I trained with him the other day and he's looking good. Like I can
Yeah.
tell he's
Awesome.
on a good path. So
Is
I
he
would reach out to him.
eating the boiled eggs y'all talked about on your
You
podcast?
know what? I don't know, but you should ask him.
Yeah, they're $9 a dozen now. I'm just that's an
Mhm.
expensive road snack.
I know, but at the end of the day, I love eggs. Eggs are a part of my
Yeah.
diet, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy them.
Yep. You gotta start making your own jerky. That's what you gotta do, Kat.
Man, you tell me to make my own sauerkraut and make this and that. I like the convenience of buying it
All
already
right.
made.
That's fine. I mean, they are professionals. That's why they got it in the
I've
stove.
made beef
So
jerky. It's a lot of work if you do it right
yeah, but
in
you
the
could,
dehydrator with the spice, but slicing the meat, all that.
yeah, but do you realize you could save up to 4 cents a pound if you do it on your own?
That's huge. All right, you're funny.
Okay.
Ernesto, you're amazing. Thank
All
you
right.
for being so honest and open. I think you inspired a lot of people today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys.